One of the most frequently asked questions I get is, how am I so cool? But the second most frequently asked question is, how do I improve my classical guitar technique? How do I play so fast and beautifully? And in my previous video I was talking about my favorite right hand related exercises, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite left hand exercises. The first exercise is a simple exercise called spider walk, and if this is your first time doing it, I advise you to start in the 5th position, but if you are looking for a challenge, you can start in the 1st fret. So you are going to play notes one by one. The difficulty is, the challenge is that you only can lift up one finger at a time, so the rest of the fingers are holding the notes. One finger, one by one, one by. Okay, and once you reach the end, you move 1 fret up and you start it over again. This exercise is really good for finger independence and to improve the control over your left hand and your fingers individually. You have to make sure that you're using the very tip of the finger, the very tip of the finger, and you are maintaining this nice curved position. Since this is a fairly simple exercise, I try to stay as close to the frets as possible, and I also try to reduce the pressure I apply to the minimum. As I said, I'm also trying to touch the strings with the very tip of my finger to have a steady left hand feel. And that's it, that's the first exercise. This previous exercise just prepared our next one, which is going to be a hammer-on exercise. Starting from the 5th position on the 6th string again, I'm going to strike with my 1st and 2nd fingers. So starting with 1st and then with the 2nd. And I'm walking up on the strings one by one. And once I'm here, I'm going back. And when I reach the bottom, I go 1 fret up and I repeat. I try to maintain the curved position again, and I am using the very tip, the strongest, most steady part of my fingertip. Now, while the strike or the hammer-on has to be really strong, really sharp, the lift-up part has to be really soft and effortless. Right at the same time, when I'm doing the hammer-on, I lift my other finger in the air, so it has this, this scissor movement, zigzag movement. I don't know what to call it, but each time, each time I hit, I prepare the next finger to the upcoming movement. So if you have a little extra space for your finger to do the hammer-on, it's easier to gain momentum, it's easier to just do the movements rather than to start doing the hammer-on from very close. Now, in order to make this exercise really useful, you have to do it with all finger combinations. So with 1st, 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, 3rd, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, and 1, 4. All the finger combinations, one by one. And the best part in this exercise is that you can loop it. You can do it as long as you get tired of it. Obviously, once you feel stiff or once you feel pain, you have to immediately stop the exercise. Personally, to avoid pain or stiffness in my hand, what really helps me is after each hammer-on, I try to release the tension of my hand, because right after the note is being played, it requires less and less effort from my end to maintain the sound of it. Once you pick or once you do the hammer-on, you don't need to press so hard on the fret to maintain the note, to maintain the sound. So you can start to apply a little bit less power on the note. Now, after the hammer-on, we need to follow with some pull-offs, and my favorite way to practice pull-offs is to do them at once. So I'm gonna place my fingers one by one here in the 9th position. So while the finger is doing the pull off, it's pulling the string down, right? So with the rest of the fingers, you have to hold against that a little bit. So imagine that while your pinky is doing a pull off and pulling the string down, the rest of the fingers are kind of like pushing the string up, and by that it balances out the powers and you won't end up pulling down the string of the fretboard. Another very important note is while you're doing the pull off, try not to rotate your hand like this out, but think about pull off as left hand picking, as picking with left hand. So as we say, when you're picking with right hand, you have to pick into the palm, and this part of the finger, the knuckles, are not moving. Think about the same when you find a comfortable posture for your left hand, like this one for me. You try to do the pull off and you try to maintain the position. So only pick with your fingers. Something like that. And this position remains the same. And once you're happy with this exercise and how it sounds, how it looks, try to move not horizontally but vertically on the guitar. I don't know if, let's say, okay, if this is horizontal, then this is vertical. Wait, this is horizontal and this is vertical. Sideways, I mean. So once you finish your first set here, instead of moving down on the string, jump on the next string, on the second string, and do it over again. It's a little bit more tricky, as you heard me screwing it up a couple of times. It's a little bit more tricky because once you move to an inner string, the higher string is always in the way. But don't be scared of it. Feel free to pull the finger down on the next string as long as it sounds good and as long as you don't rotate your hand and make too much extra noise. It's fine. Up next, we need to talk about bar chords because everyone hates them. They're difficult. I hate them. I bet you hate them too. But I think the best way to improve bar chords is to increase the difficulty gradually. So the exercise is going to be the following. I'm in the 5th fret and I'm playing a bar chord on the upper 2 strings. And then I pick a note. And once I got here, I go back. Oops. The reason I like this exercise so much is it increases the difficulty gradually, as I said, and while holding the bar rate is difficult, it takes a lot of effort and strength, you can release the tension of your hand during playing the single note. So after the tense movement, relax your fingers and hand while you play this one single note. And then you will gain energy to continue the exercise. Try not to pinch the fretboard and the neck, but try to relax the thumb as much as possible on the back and try using the weight of your hand and of your arm. It kind of feels like relying a little bit on gravity. So this should feel kind of like pulling the neck to yourself or a little bit down like this. You're pulling it with your first finger, and while the first finger is parallel to the strings, the thumb is not. On the back of the neck, my thumb is not parallel, but a little bit angled. this is the angle. I hold it in the back. I just put it back and then relax, tension, relax, tension, relax. Oops. As you probably noticed, I replaced my thumb on the back of the neck depending on the position I need. So what I'm trying to achieve is to maintain a really comfortable, steady and curved posture for my left hand, and in order to maintain that finger position or finger shape, finger posture, I have to replace my thumb on the back of the neck. And the last one is going to be my favorite stretching exercise, and I just have to tell you, I love this one so much. It's also a high risk, high reward, so I'm going to try to explain it as good as I can. But this is a very rewarding exercise. First you have to start from the 12th thread with the pinky, and one by one you put them down one fret upper, so you get this beautiful 7th chord, and just one by one we are going to move the fingers up and pick the chord. As I said, this is a little bit risky exercise. You can hurt your hand a little bit. So as soon as you feel pain, stop. Just as I said before, like 10 times in my other videos too. The thing you have to really focus on is to find those microseconds to relax your hand. So you won't get stiff. And what you can do, for example, is every time you get back to the main position, you can relax your hand a little bit. And another really good way to relax your hand during this exercise is that you need to stretch your fingers the most when you pick the chord. But after you pick the chord, you don't need too much effort and pressure to maintain the chord again, as I think I said this earlier with another exercise. You don't need to hold so strongly. So what I do is right after I pick the chord, I gently start to release the tension of my hand, but I still apply just enough to maintain the chord. But see, so I don't need to hold it anymore because the chord is not sounding. Do you hear it? I don't hear it anymore. Maybe because I'm talking. I should stop talking. But you get my point, right? I want to talk about scales very, very briefly because I think they would deserve a whole different, a whole video to talk about. It's a very, deep topic. But I just want to say quickly is instead of repeating the same 2 or 3 scales you're doing over and over again, try to mix them up a little bit, change them from time to time, or challenge yourself with different picking patterns and techniques. Try to change the rhythm into into dotted notes or try to play the same scales with free strokes and rest strokes and stuff like that. So challenge yourself, oopsie, a little bit, challenge yourself. I'm sure I wasn't talking about everything today, but I honestly believe that these handful of exercises are going to help you to significantly improve your chord technique. And after you feel really comfortable with these exercises, you can use them to maintain your skills, and as well as you can build new exercises and new challenges on the top of these. Hope you like this collection of exercises, and if you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as well as please consider to support my art on a monthly basis on Patreon. I will leave some links in the description down below. And if you haven't watched my right hand exercises collection video, make sure to check it out. But if you have seen it already, you probably know by now that technique is not everything. So level up your musicality by watching this video and learn some very simple, easy to apply rules which you can build into every song you learn. Thanks for watching and see you in a bit.